Thank you. Honorable Foreign Minister from Bangladesh, Honorable Ambassador, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers to organize this event and invite me. My presentation, I try to cover the main theme of this seminar, energy and sustainable development in developing countries. And with this perspective, approaches to address the energy crisis in Bangladesh and to focus on the concept presently very discussed and this concept of resource curse and how people struggles to get freedom from resource curse, how resource can be utilized for the people's life and livelihood and real sustainable development and to ensure energy security in real terms. First, the main points of energy security. Number one, physical availability of energy resources. Number two, price is affordable. And number three, it respects environment concern. And secondly, energy security is very closely linked with national security. So there is a physical availability, price affordability, and environmentally sound. These are three key elements of energy security. And this is very important because it is closely linked with national security. And sustainable development, its main point is meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Very important. Sustainable development is a pattern of resource use that aims to meet human needs while preserving the environment so that these needs can be met not only in the present but also for generations to come. Environment, local people, future. These three are the key elements. So energy and development, we have a diverse scenario globally. We have countries like United States, Canada, Australia and Norway, which are very much rich in resources and has very good growth. But there are many countries which have abundant natural resources, but they are growth losers. These countries are like Nigeria, Zambia, Sierra Leone, Angola. These are all resources countries, but they don't have a good growth rate. So there are diverse scenarios, and globally we need to look into the causes why natural resources automatically cannot ensure energy security and sustainable development. This term, resource curse, comes here. The surprisingly negative outcomes in oil and mineral dependent countries are referred to as the resource curse. Resource becomes curse. Natural resource abundance does therefore hinder economic growth in countries. This is a surprising thing. Natural resource abundance does therefore hinder economic growth in countries with grabber-friendly institutions. This is a findings from a study done in 2005. They have come to the conclusion that if there are grabber-friendly institutions instead of producer-friendly institutions, then natural resource abundance can become a source to hinder economic growth. And many countries rich in natural resources exploit and squander that wealth to enrich a minority, while corruption and mismanagement leave the majority impoverished. That is the real picture of this today's world in Africa, Latin America, and many parts of the Asia. This is the same conclusion comes from Arab Human Development Report released by the United Nations in 2003. So there comes when few and very small minority are getting benefit from these abundant natural resources, then comes conflict, occupation, colonization, internal militarization, war, genocide, and repression. I have named some. I have put some names of the countries, but there are many. Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, India, Ecuador, Colombia, Myanmar, Nigeria, Angola, Sudan, Indonesia. These are all, they have different parts or different experiences of militarization, either aggression from outside or militarization from within, political repression, military rule, etc. In today's world, there is a so surprising scenario in today's globe. Global military expenditure goes beyond $1 trillion US dollar a year. $1 trillion US dollar a year. 1% of this money, 1% of this money, that is 10 billion US dollar, could provide safe water for 7 billion people in the earth. So there is no resource problem. Problem is the occupation and the few very small minority who have grabbed all these resources. And oil, gas, coal corporate bodies are the main patrons of autocracy and war for grabbing resources. Therefore, they are the prime beneficiaries. If you look at Middle East and many other countries, we will find the real actor behind all this war and killing and genocide. They are all oil companies, mostly oil companies. These are some examples of internal militarization and repression in India, Nigeria, Myanmar, Colombia, Ecuador. I am not going into details of that. And we can divide, keeping in mind this diverse scenario, we can divide countries of the world into four categories. Number one, the countries like United States, Australia, United Kingdom, France, Germany. These are the countries who have command over own resources, their own resources. Also, they have command over resources in many other countries in the world through occupation, through colonization, through multinational corporations. And they are the beneficiaries of colonial system, old and new. The second category consists of Norway, China, Malaysia, India, Brazil, Vietnam, who are very good control over own resources, developed national institutions, now expanding overseas. Third category includes Bangladesh, Sudan, Nigeria, Colombia, which I would like to call resource curse group, where resource is becoming curse. And people are struggling to come out, get freedom from this resource curse. No command over their own resources and domination by multinational companies or central countries. The fourth categories are Venezuela, Bolivia, Ecuador, had been in resource curse group. They suffered a lot. Now trying to build new direction by changing policies, revising international contracts, building new constitutions. And they have created a situation, a promise to get a new phase of development. And what happens in resource curse countries? On average, this is a study done by Jeffrey Sachs in Millennium Development Goal Institute. On average, countries which started the period with a high value of resource-based exports to GDP tended to experience slower growth during the following 20 years. Mysterious thing. The countries which have a high value of resource-based exports to GDP tended to experience slower growth. In Saudi Arabia, whose proven crude oil reserves are the greatest in the world, per capita income has plunged from $28,600 US in 1981 to $6,800 US in 2001. Autocracy, highest military contract with the US in 2011, the same country. Saudi Arabia had the highest ever military contract with the US in the last few months. In Nigeria and Venezuela, real per capita income has decreased the levels of the 1960s. while many other countries, Algeria, Angola, Congo, Ecuador, Gabon, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Libya, Qatar, and Trinidad and Tobago are back to the levels of 1970s and early 1980s. And this is Nigeria case study, resources and crisis. Nigeria the highest reserve of gas is with Russia, then Iran. Nigeria has 187 trillion cubic feet of gas. This is almost 10 times of Bangladesh has now at the moment. And Nigeria has the highest oil reserve in Africa, proven reserve. Even then, this Nigeria is suffering from load shedding, suffering from huge poverty, suffering from unemployment and very weak infrastructure. The huge resources could give them only military ruler and repression. And all these oil revenues in Nigeria, it's oil export, the destination of oil exports, United States get 43%. All the oil revenues, $350 billion in total, did not seem to add to the standard of living at all. Between 1970 and 2000, the poverty rate increased from about 1/3 of the population to almost 70% of the population. This is a study report. So with increasing export, poverty is increasing. So that is the very surprising but the very real we find a correlation between increase of poverty and increase of export of oil or natural gas. There are 3 other countries, Myanmar, Ecuador and Congo. Everywhere the same result. Real GDP comes down, poverty level grew, unemployment level grew, and 75% of Congolese natural resources are at the present owned by foreign companies. And unemployment and poverty also had a very high growth rate there. Foreign direct investment, this is from a report by UNCTAD, United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, on foreign direct investment in the least developed countries. The findings is 66% of foreign investment in the 1990s went to the developing nations of Africa. It has increased to 87% during 2000 and 2005. Only Angola, Chad, Equatorial Guinea and Sudan, the 4 oil-producing countries, are receiving 56% of foreign investment. UNCTAD notes, this is their findings, foreign investment in these developing countries is generally resource-seeking. The type of this investment is such that it has neither created jobs nor has it encouraged capacity building or technical development at the local level. This sector is like an island, this energy sector, where the ones who profit at the end of the day are the multinational companies. This is a study report from United Nations. And the Joseph Stiglitz, you know him, he has also worked on these natural resources and resource curse. He is saying a country that sells off its natural resources, privatizes its oil company, and borrows against future revenues may experience a consumption binge that raises GDP. But the accounting framework should show that country has actually become poorer. So that creates an illusion that it is growing in GDP, but it is becoming poorer. And he suggested his suggestion to the IMF and the World Bank. The IMF should not put undue pressure on countries to privatize their extractive industries. And obviously IMF and World Bank are not ready to listen to this advice. So they continue. And on Bangladesh, Joseph Stiglitz said, a country like Bangladesh with limited reserves of natural gas might want to exercise caution when selling its gas, given that there is no other effective way of ensuring itself against an increase in the price of energy over the long run. Now before I come to Bangladesh, the last one is World Bank, what they want to do actually. The World Bank's Oil, Gas and Mining Policy Division, through an very good, kind words, through an integrated set of services, loans, technical assistance, guarantees and knowledge products, provides advice on legal, fiscal and contractual issues, regulation sector, for what? Restructuring and privatization. Why? Because this privatization and restructuring, these efforts help state enterprise transition to the private sector, reducing the drain on the public sector, lowering cost of production. Reducing the drain on the public sector, lowering cost of production and providing a level playing field that encourages entrepreneurs to enter a competitive market. I would like to request you to remember this. What is the objective of World Bank? Reducing the drain on the public sector, lowering cost of production. Bangladesh has followed World Bank's advice in energy sector, and we should look at the fact that what happened to the reduction of drain on public sector and lowering cost of production. These are global and local lessons. These are all these resource scarce scenario, corruption, militarization, and these economic reform package programs by World Bank. And here comes Bangladesh. We have population about 150 million and density 1039 per square kilometer. We have high potential, but we have intensive poverty till today. We have most fertile land, agriculture is our main livelihood. We have very rich water system and biodiversity, rivers, canals, ponds, wetlands, industrious and creative workforce, oil gas resources in onshore and offshore, coal resources in north of the country, but still today we are trapped in a cycle of poverty. And what is happening with the energy sector? Energy and power in Bangladesh scenario, we have very low energy consumption compared to global standard, but it is, I think, for most of the people